My name is Muhammad Noisham bin Omar, currently attached at Chemical Management Division as Head of Unit of Chemical Control and International Conventions. So basically in this division we have four main activities. First, we have the implementation of the international convention related to the chemicals. Second, we have the control of chemical. It's about the handlings of the chemicals and activities pertaining to that. Third, we have about the classifications, labeling and packaging of hazardous chemicals. And last, we have the chemical health risk assessment. This is about the assessment of the chemicals. In this department, we divide the chemical to two definitions. First, we have a hazardous chemical. Hazardous chemical is any chemical that classified under physical hazards category, or health hazard category, or environmental hazard category. For example, I give about the detergent that we use at our home or our house in daily activities. Detergent is, according to the classification of the physical or health hazard, maybe it can give a skin corrosions. Maybe it categorized under the skin corrosion hazards. So, if this chemical or this material is classified under these categories, it means that this is the hazardous chemical, even this is just a normal detergent that we use in our home or in daily activities. Second, we have a chemical hazard to health. Under the regulations, the definition of the chemical hazard to health is: first, is any chemical that listed in the Schedule 1 or Schedule 2. Second, for any chemical that pose health hazard categories. For example, is if the chemical have the acute toxicity, or skin corrosions, or carcinogenicity. That means this is the chemical that's classified or categorized under chemical hazard to health. Third, we have the pesticides that listed under the Pesticide Act. And fourth, or the last definition for the chemical hazard to health is the schedule waste that regulated by Department of Environmental under Environmental Quality Schedule Waste Regulations. For the SOP or Safety Operating Procedure that must be followed when we use the chemicals, under the law perspective, we have the huge regulations, as I mentioned before. In this huge regulation, is already stipulated all the requirements that need to be carried out when we handle with the chemicals. For the chemical storage, there is a few criteria that need to be taken before we can deal or before we can establish any chemical storage. First, what is the responsibilities for the owner of the chemicals? What is the responsibility for the employee or owner? Maybe they have the different managements. And the responsibilities of the keeper or the employees that will be work at that place. What is the hazard identification and communication for that chemical? Basically, for the communication between workers and chemical is safety data sheet, SDS. Second, we have the label. This is the two main elements as a communication tool between chemical and us. Another aspect is what is the hazard that will arise in that place from the chemical. What is the classifications for the chemical? Is it any physical categories hazards, or is it any health categories hazards or environmental hazards? And the siting and design of storage area. This is a very important elements. You need to have the layout of the storage. What is the security that need to be implemented in that place? What is the design of the warehouse buildings or the storage buildings? And the outdoor storage, if there is any outdoor storage that been built or established at that place. Another aspect that need to be taken for the chemical storage is the warehouse management. What is the control of the hazards in the workplace? What is the operations system in that place? What is the plans, or is there any chemical that need to separate or make a segregation between the chemicals? And what is the personal exposure and protection for the workers? Is there any first aid facilities that need to be installed in that storage facilities? It's compulsory for the employer to have or to undertake the chemical health risk assessment before they can use the chemicals. First, the assessment will need to be carried out by the registered chemical health risk assessor. This is the competent persons that registered with our departments, and they will carry out the assessment for the workplaces. Include is the potential risk to an employee as a result of exposure to chemical hazard to health. What is the method and procedure adopted in the use of the chemical hazard to health? the nature of the hazard to the health, the risk to health created by the use and the release of chemical from the work processes, the measure, the procedures and the equipment necessary to control any accidental emission of a chemical hazard to health as a result of leakage, spillage or process or equipment failure, and the recommend for the trainings and the retraining of the employees as required under the use regulations. Basically, the results or the findings from the competent person, this assessor, they will give a recommendation what is the personal protective equipment to be wear during the activities. This is what we call as the chemical health risk assessments.